Hey guys, Matt Dog with another video. We're doing Eldlich this time as a super budget deck. So only the Eldlich monster himself, and then two extra ultra rare cards in the main deck, one extra ultra rare card in the extra deck. And I was able to climb really quickly through Diamond up all until about Diamond 2 and I've had a lot of fun with it. Mostly, I've been abusing a new trap that just came out called Simultaneous Equation Cannons. It is a ton of fun. Um, I'm gonna build a Master 1 version of this deck in a couple of weeks when I actually climb to Master 1 with the more expensive version. But for now, I get to test out a lot of cards that, are useful. So first of all, Foolish Burial Goods sends a rollback to the grave. Immediately, we have an extra interruption in case they pop something. So, okay, we activate Cursed Eldland, and it's really funny because there's a lot of other decks that have continuous spells where you want to pop them before they do anything. But in this case, it's really, you don't want to do this. We just have a graveyard effect that allows us to send an Eldlich from our deck to the grave. So they've actually kind of enabled me to do some things that I otherwise might not have been able to. Attack mode. We're going to attack this because we could just destroy the Lovely this way with Flashing Fire. Yeah, we also are running some Runic cards, interestingly enough. Okay. For those of you who know the YouTuber, there's one YouTuber who this deck is definitely inspired by. I'll be sure to give them a lot of props when you get to the deck profile. But for now, Labrynth, they're doing their thing. They have quite a bit of engine. But here, okay, so they're going to try to get rid of Eldlich, which obviously he can't be destroyed right now, and none of their monsters are, attack above him. So they have to use something like Terrors of the Overroot, an ultra rare card, to send him to grave. But the card they're going to set is Foolish Burial Goods, which just would allow me to send another rollback. So not the best card for him to give me. And as long as Eldlich is on the field, I might as well get my Destroy and my Banish off. So Huaquero, Conquistador. Us activating Huaquero forces him to use rollback. Otherwise, we're going to banish either his rollback in grave, or we might actually just banish his Lovely. For those of you who've been watching my channel for a while, you know the two ways that you need to defeat Labrynth are you need to banish Lovely and destroy the field spell. So they do that. They summon Lovely, so I can't banish her. We do banish their big welcome Labrynth, though, and we destroy her before she can activate any of her effects. So they did all that just to avoid the worst outcome. Okay, Torby grabs another big welcome. They have a regular welcome. Here they're going to chain, but it doesn't matter because we get Simultaneous Equation Cannons. Okay, this card is not an ultra rare, and it's amazing. So I'm going to activate this. I'm going to banish their entire field, which is great because Lovely can't be targeted or destroyed. So back row, normally in order to get an effect like this, we have to use Pele's Oak Marilla, send a rollback, and then rollback copies Elemental Burst, and that would only destroy their back row, like Lady would still be alive. Alright. This card has a really complicated text, Banish a Fusion and two XYZs with the same combined level and ranks to equal the total number of cards in both players' hands and on the field, and then return two of those banished monsters from the extra deck whose combined level and rank equal one level or rank of one face-up monster your opponent controls, banish all cards they control. So I knew about this card for like the last 6 months, and I had watched a couple of videos where people like show these really complicated graphs. Like one person got top 4 at a YCS, and he's like, yeah, the way that you understand it is you just memorize this huge Excel sheet that I have showing all the different combinations of the number of cards there are and the number of levels, in this case 8, of the monsters on the field, and that'll tell you whether or not you can activate the card. And Master Duel was really funny, because even if they don't have any monsters at all on the field, they're like, yeah, you can activate it. It might not do anything, but you can send 3 cards from your extra deck to the Banish Zone. So, like, you can't just wait for it to suddenly say, oh, now you can activate it. However, there's a pretty simple equation, or pair of equations you can use, and I actually ended up writing it down on a note card, just so I just, like, have it next to me. First, the total number of cards on the field and in our hands, in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so 11 cards between our hands and fields, minus the level of our opponent's monster, in this case, 8. So 11 minus 8 is 3. That's pretty complicated. So the key is that for this first equation, total cards minus opponent's level needs to be a number between 3 and 6. Because those are the XYZ monsters that we're running pairs of level 3s, level 4s, level 5s, and level 6s. Then you do the second part of the equation, which is the XYZ. In this case, we're sending a level 3 plus some fusion monster. And most of the time, I don't even really need to think about the second half of the equation because we have fusion monsters that go from 1 through 7. So in most cases, if the first half of the equation, total cards minus opponent's monster equals 3, 4, 5, or 6, then you're going to banish all cards on your opponent's side of the field. It is important to check the second half sometimes, but XYZ monster plus the numbers 1 through 7 needs to add up to your opponent's monster level. Or alternatively, you could do like the XYZ. Yeah, you could do it in a subtraction format as well. But basically, we do that. In this case, we send a level 2 level 3s and a level 5, and we banish their entire field. So he had... What did we banish, by the way? We banished a Welcome. Okay, that was going to be annoying. We banished Ice Dragon's Prison, which is really bad. He was going to banish one of our only 2 lords in our entire deck, along with one of our trap monsters. So that would have been a game over for us. D-Barrier, which doesn't affect us at all, but for other decks it's really powerful. And Big Welcome. So tons of engine, tons of really powerful interactions. One of his boss monsters banished. Also, his other boss monster is in the graveyard. That's really bad. Draw. Thanks for giving me Foolish Burial Goods. So now we have a second rollback. We get rid of one of the trap monsters. And in this case, we actually have enough attack to just kill him, because he used one of his rollbacks, which costs half of his life points. But in this case, I would have used one of the rollbacks that I have to copy Trap Trick, to grab like a Torrential Tribute or some other trap card that I'm interested in. And then I'll have the other rollback that I can copy Trap Trick to get any other trap I need. And I have another Simultaneous Equation Cannon. Yeah, so in that case, we just banished his entire field and go for game. Simultaneous Equation Cannon is amazing. I can't wait to... It's too bad because it does cost your entire extra deck. Like, I'm looking forward to doing a version of Eldlich that focuses on, or at least features Dragoon in the extra deck, and a white Forest Eldlich deck could be super cool. There's a lot of interesting interactions. But for now, Simultaneous Equation Cannon is amazing, and I just want to dedicate my entire extra deck to it. If this is the duel that I think it is, I remember thinking as I'm going through this extra deck, you know, the number of instances, like, mostly you'll use, like, level 3, level 4, level 5, and level 2 as the fusions that you use the most. Occasionally level 6 and level 1. It's like, what if I get rid of the level 7, and in that case, like, make Typhon or something? See, I'm just ignoring them. They're doing a full Sprite combo, but we've all seen it a million times before. But I think either this duel or like the next duel, I literally needed to have the level 7 in order to banish their field. So I recommend using your entire extra deck. Okay? Alright, so hold on, let's take a second here. So we're going second. They've got a Spell Trap Negate, which for our purposes is basically an Omni Negate. A Monster Negate, which for our purposes is nothing. And a Banish. So a Negate and a Banish, and maybe like an Ash Blossom is all I really care about. So I don't know who we targeted. I think we must have targeted Phantom of Yubel, which was absolute bait. Like I said, this card does absolutely nothing to us. We don't have any monster effects that we're trying to stop. But we managed to get rid of the Spell Trap Negate, which is fantastic. That does cost us our battle phase this turn. Ooh. Yeah, I probably should have used Cursed Eldland first, but I was pretty sure he would use IP to turn into SP and just banish the Cursed Eldland. Whatever. Okay, Spell Trap Negate's gone. Cursed Eldland. He grabs the Monster Negate. Okay, so in this case, we actually do care a little bit about the monster negate because we're going to be using Eldlich to try to take out a card. Yeah, it didn't matter who we targeted as long as it was important enough. We used both of the monster effects of Eldlich to bait out both, or to get rid of their monster negates. But really, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get Cursed Eldland and Elixir of Scarlet Sanguine in the grave, because this will be able to send a Golden Land trap, and this can banish to set a Golden Land trap, allowing us to get our full Eldlich engine online. Very cool. Good. Keep doing your stuff. Don't care about what you're doing there. Okay, so now we're going to get a non-targeting destroy, and Quaquera is going to banish to set an Eldixir. Okay, so now we've got our full Eldlich engine online. We've got a D barrier, which is really important. It covers a lot of bases that other like long-term floodgates can't handle as well. And Simultaneous Equation Cannon, which we're going to use to win the game. Luckily, they have a high-level monster. It's a lot easier to resolve this trap against high-level monsters than like a level 2, but whatever. It's just on the draw phase. I don't want them using Sprite Elf to revive a thing. I don't want them to link IP into like a 4-material Appaloosa. I want as many cards banished as possible. They have 2 cards in hand, nothing in grave that they can like do anything with, just in grave on their own, except maybe this guy. Okay, yeah, so, okay, they have a little bit of follow-up in the grave, but whatever. Yep, yeah, so this was the duel where I needed to use my level 7 fusion, and we banish everything, none of their graveyard floating effects work, and they just surrender. We have full engine still. If they try to do other stuff, we have a D barrier. GG, good game, get out here. So, because Simultaneous Equation Cannon is so powerful, I feel like really budget versions of Eldlich can do the thing with Eldlich that I really like to do, which is, like, we do have floodgates in this deck, but what I really enjoy about Eldlich is sort of the trap game of really blowout traps where you wait until the right moment and then you spring your trap, right? Like that's kind of the definition of a trap deck, is like you activate a trap at the right time, spring it, and then you eliminate a lot of their card advantage. In that case, banishing like 7 or 8 cards. Banishing is still a place you could put cards that is really bad. I'm sure like more decks in the future are going to be like, oh yeah, the Banish Stone and the Graveyard are actually the same thing now. Anyways. So we're going against Labrynth, which is playing a little bit on my turn. Go for you. Good for you, whatever. They get a rollback, which I'm really worried about. So first of all, I activated Reasoning, which is great in our mill strategies where we don't have a ton of monsters. Like it's not as good when we have really monster-heavy variants of Eldlich, like Horus or even Toy Box. But if it's a much more pure trap version, Reasoning is amazing for sending cards like Rollback to Grave, as well as getting some of our Eldlich engine online. In this case, I have a Rollback already, which means I could do things like activate to copy Elemental Burst, not to spoil things. But I'm worried because he just used his Lady Labyrinth of the Silver Castle to set a rollback of his own, which means if he's running the Equation Cannon in his extra deck, which he, maybe he is, then he would banish all of my cards. Don't want that. So it's going to be priority number 1 to banish this rollback. They pop a card, don't care, wait till the end phase. Banish the Conquistador to just set another card, whatever. Set this, just might as well get our engine online. And Simultaneous Equation Cannon. He quits because Lovely is super important. It recycles all of his resources. It pops a lot of cards. If you're running a more a more monster-heavy version of Labrynth, which I think he was. Let's look at our opponent's deck. Yeah, like, look, most of his deck is monsters, and in a case like that, Lovely is super important for his entire strategy. Like, most of his traps are just, like, ways of getting Lovely back onto the field. Looks like it's also, like, a White Forest deck, which is pretty interesting. But, yeah, in that case, we basically banished the heart of his whole deck. It'd be like if both of our Eldliches were banished in one move. Plus his rollback. So... And then we had all of our trap cards for follow-up later. See, I do have a bit of a bias with the games I'm showing. Like I am showing the games where I get to activate equation cannons and banish all of their cards. But those are the fun ones. Oh yeah, so two Eldlich was not enough monsters, so that for reasoning to like reasoning keeps going until it hits a monster, and two monsters is kind of like too few. So I wanted to add other monsters, and this was the monster I came up with. Basically, it's like a pot of desires or a pot of duality, where it like searches the top of your deck and sets a trap card, which is great for consistency, especially on a budget. It's equal to the number of cards that are available in your opponent's side of the field. So going first, it's usually 5, and even going second, it's a mill 2 or 3, which is the same as Pot of Duality. And it doesn't cost you being able to special summon. So I really like Wannabe as like a budget, whatever, consistency booster. I activate Reasoning twice, which is probably super greedy. There's only one monster in the rest of my deck, but we get lucky you don't send too many. Basically, you want to send like 8 to 10 cards from the top of your deck so that you get a little bit of Eldlich Engine, maybe one rollback. In this case, 0 rollbacks, but we have a Conquistador, a Trap Trick, and Waybridge, which is an interesting card. Alright, what are we going to set? Rollback, Skill Drain, Anti-Spell. Yeah, I like to set rollback. Wannabe does have an effect where it's kind of like Lord of Heavenly Prison, where on the end phase, if you don't use it, it gets sent to the graveyard. Like Lord of Heavenly Prison obviously banishes, but in this case, sends to the graveyard, which is good. And a lot of times they'll have like an imperm or something that they'll discard, which you can use rollback to copy. Alright, so here we're going up against Tenpei now, which is obviously the top deck of the current meta. They can use level 7 to make Black Rose Dragon and destroy all my cards. Like, I don't care that much about all my cards being destroyed, because the Eldlich cards have a lot of graveyard effects. Rollback, obviously, becomes a lot stronger if it's in my grave. But I do have a Trap Trick, I do have a Waybridge. I might as well use my resources now. I'm not going to let them get destroy the whole field for free. So let's pop a card. Battle phase. They summon it back. Alright. In this case, they could have made a Black Rose Dragon, but they wouldn't have been able to OTK me through it. In this case, they're like, okay, we're going to summon a monster. Go ahead. I wanted to use Simultaneous Equation Cannons here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be Equation Cannons 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 15 cards minus 7 would have been a level 8. Maybe wait for them to pop a card or two. So I wanted to use it here. It would have been really nice. Unfortunately, I did mill 2 copies of Simultaneous Equation Cannon, so I can't banish one to set a second. So Trenchel's still going to get the job done. You know, it's literally been around since like 2002, and it's still one of the best trap cards in the game. They summon that guy, but he doesn't do anything. They've got the field spell. Eldlich in general feels like it's really good against Tenpei. Like, if you remember from my previous duel, the only way that they can get around a 3500 indestructible Eldlich is if they specifically draw a Forbidden Droplet, which is a card that, like, they can't search, they just have to happen to have it. Or if during the battle phase, they pop Sanguine Summoning, which can make one of their monsters have more than 3,500 attack to be able to hit over him. So they have a hard time dealing with him, is all I'm saying. Okay. In this case, Waybridge should be enough to keep us alive, plus our rollback that got sent to grave by Wannabe. Okay. Wannabe at the very best. No one ever was. Okay. They've got another field spell. In this case, I'm going to let them pop off just a little bit. They have too many cards on the field. I don't really care about them trying to destroy everything. Copy Simultaneous Equation Cannons. So here, I wonder if they could have done something to quick effect try to synchro into the level 10 that doesn't let me activate anything during the battle phase. But I think it was too late. I think I activated my card before he could do anything, and now it's like 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 minus 7 is 6, which is obviously a number between 3 and 6. And then 6 plus 1 is going to add up to a level 7. So we could send our level 1 fusion to target this guy and banish it. If it was a level 10, then it would be 12. So 12 minus 10 is 2. That wouldn't work. 12 minus 3 is 9. So yeah, if they had gone into a level 10, it would have been hard. I would have had to summon an Eldlich, which would change the map. There's a thing where, as it's resolving, it's non-targeting, so it depends on the number of cards that are there when everything resolves. But whatever, they don't, so we banish their entire field. They do have follow-up in their hand. Summon an Eldlich. What are we going to draw? Okay, a runic card, so this will be kind of funny. First, take out their field spell, so basically they just have their card in hand, whatever they draw, 3,000, 6,000, and now, this is kind of a funny, like obviously the main reason we're running the runic cards is because we already have these level 5s anyways, and if they use like Harpy Feather Duster or something, we could trigger these, summon out the level 2 fusion Hugin, who can protect our entire field from getting destroyed. Like, that's the main reason that we're running those runic cards. But also, like, in order to just one-turn kill your opponent, you could summon this guy to get a little bit more damage, because obviously we don't have the 2 level 10s to be able to OTK. However, this is the third attack, which means they could use the once per duel effect of this guy to summon himself out. Alright, we have, how many rollbacks do we have in Grave? None. Okay, so they have this guy who isn't an extender on his own, so we kind of have to see what they're going to draw. Okay, they have this guy, but apparently it's a normal summon. Yeah, so they didn't have any traps left. Did I banish? Oh, I think I must have banished their... Yeah, I don't know. At any rate, we activate this effect to banish cards. He instantly decides to activate this effect to quick effect, make the level 10 that makes it so I can't attack anymore, or like can't activate effects anymore. I say, no, I'm going to destroy one of your cards. You don't have enough to sync material to synchro. Get popped. And now you just have this guy. Unfortunately, on the next turn, our battle phase is skipped, and evenly matched is great most of the time, but you can't use it right now. Whatever. 5 ultra rares versus the best deck in the game. As long as you can survive a turn or two, you're good to go. Nice. And that was a duel where we resolved simultaneous equation cannons, but it wasn't enough to finish the job, I guess. Alright, next duel. Salamangreat. Yeah, there's a lot of Salamangreat decks in Diamond. I don't know if they're still going to be up in Master, but I guess it's like you just need to get the starter decks, so I guess it's I don't know. Yeah, it's just interesting to see that there's so many of them. I never usually think of them as like a super high-level popular deck. Okay. They're going full combo here. We have Reasoning. I'm not sure if they get Spell Trap Negates, which is kind of a big, I guess, what would you call it? Like a niche in the meta, where it's like we can activate cards like a Reasoning, or when you use the expensive version of the deck, Triple Tactics Thrust and stuff. Okay, pop both those cards, activate the effect. Yeah, we definitely want to banish the Princess, because she has a lot of graveyard effects. And Raging Phoenix allows them to one-turn kill us as well. Okay, so Salamangreat Pyro. Okay, we activate Reasoning. What are we going to get? Titanicider is kind of an interesting card. I don't usually have it in my really expensive decks. Perfect. Okay, this is amazing. So we actually bait out the princess, get her on the field, which is great because I want Eldlich in the grave, so I can send... I only have 2 copies of Rollback in this budget version, so I want to get one of those in the grave ASAP. Yeah, summon that other card too, please. They activate Ghost Bell, which is like, I don't care. I'm not trying to summon my Eldlich. I'm trying to get Rollback in the grave, so in the battle phase I can copy Evenly Matched. Normally, when you activate it from the hand, they still have 1 card. In this case, we banish their entire field face down, literally the most inaccessible place it can be. And now they have 2 cards. I think this duel goes on for a while because they keep using this to reborn monsters, and for some reason I don't pop it. Yeah, Equation Cannon is kind of worthless right now. Like, they don't really make high-level monsters. You can't use it based off of link rating. So right here, I think I'm not sure why I did this. I should have used a Conquistador to pop this and then set the one in hand. Did I just set this turn? I don't know. Yeah, I definitely remember that this duel went longer because I was, like, making suboptimal plays. Summon it again. I think I was trying to hold out hope of using Equation Cannon, but this is a case where you definitely aren't able to do that. Alright, they use Gazelle. Yeah, so this guy is really dangerous. I don't have another card that can summon an Eldlich. I was able to set Titanicider, but you can't activate it the turn it's set. So I need to pop him before he banishes my Eldlich, otherwise he'll, whatever, set him face down and I can't activate either of my traps anymore. Bye. Yeah, at this point I'm kind of in a pickle. If they manage to make access code, then they can just kill me. So this card was going to be an extender. Target 3 cards that are banished, shuffle 2 into the deck, and special summon a 3rd. So I guess this is a way they can get around having their monsters banished by something like Simultaneous Equation Cannons. Or evenly matched, although they're banished face down. I don't know. I'm going to banish 1 card and the whole effect goes away, so no special summoning for you. This is interesting, though. So he is actually able to crash, which allows this card to activate its graveyard effect, summon itself back, and he pops a couple of cards. SP Little Knight gets a banish. Banishes the Eldlich in grave, which is a real bummer. Like, having Eldlich be able to come back from the grave basically on its own, almost for free every turn, is really big to how we get our grind game. Like, basically, the strategy with our deck, we're going to negate SP Little Knight forever. She's never going to be able to activate her effects again. 0 attack. Yeah, this guy just keeps giving advantage. I needed to pop this earlier. Whatever. Fire Charmer. The thing with Fire Charmer is if she gets destroyed, then it allows them to search their deck, so you have to be careful with her, too. Okay, 400 life points. We got this. Yeah, but basically the strategy for our deck is we blow out their whole board, and then we outgrind them by continuously coming back from the grave, like the zombie lord that we are. Alright, down to 2,800. Gonna pop that finally. Ooh, we can't pop it. Oh, this is funny. Okay, so, yeah, I wanted to pop it. They also have another graveyard effect, the Salamangreat BANISH, which can banish itself to protect a card from being destroyed. They don't have any left. Also, I activate Simultaneous Equation Cannons. That's, first of all, showing that you can activate it even though it can't resolve. Secondly, the reason I'm doing that is because I can't use it, I need space in my back row, so I just need to get rid of it. We get Guaquero, a Conquistador again. Okay, what are they going to do? Titanicider is online. Destroy our Eldlich, don't care. Summon a card. In this case, we're just going to summon that Eldlich again. Pop it, finally. Okay, they're going to try to do stuff. So here they're trying to do the same thing again, but I learned. So they wanted to crash to summon this guy. I wasn't sure if his effect happens in the damage step, like it gets destroyed by battle, and because it was during the damage step, it summons out and I can't activate cards. So I just banish it preemptively. Titanicider, that one I can activate the damage step, so even though he didn't want to attack me, he had no choice, lost 1800, and then I'm going to swing into a 0-attack monster for game. GG. Yeah, Titanicider is one of those cards where you only need it if the duel is going, like, longer than it should have, but it's really nice to just dump off with a reasoning or something, and in that case it was putting in work. It was really nice. It's like you'd prefer it to be a skill drain or something, but, you know, you don't get skill drain from the graveyard. Okay. Now they're going second game. Going second. I wonder if my going second card will show up. Whatever, they're going combo. Okay. Yeah, we definitely are able to do well against Labrynth, like especially these versions of Labrynth, where it's like they're sacrificing being able to set 4 interruptions right away for having a lot more cards that allow them to have a longer grind game of coming back from the grave because they destroyed a monster. But whatever, they pop a random card. Of the cards they could pop, if they pop either of the Eldlichs or the rollback, that's actually good for me. That makes me stronger. If they pop the Weighbridge, well, I don't think I've shown in the video yet. It's basically like a discount Karma Cannon. Yeah, we'll see. Okay. Pop Scarlet Sanguine, which is great. Love it. Maybe stronger. Banish the 2 back row. They're banished face down, so we don't know what they are. Reasoning. Okay, we've got an Elixir, a Waquero, Scarlet Sanguine, Wannabe. Okay, so we have full Eldlich engine online, and we're going to be able to set a card. In this case, I don't set the Scarlet Sanguine because we're going to banish one of these to set a different one from deck. So we basically have, and it's a Labrynth deck and they have 0 back row. Okay. Banish Conquistador. Alright, so, okay. Set the field spell. Equation Cannons. We're going to Clash and Fire. Probably just Equation Cannons, yeah. So in this case, like I always say, the 2 things you need to do against Labrynth are Banish Lovely, destroy the field spell. They're right here. It's a level 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're going to draw. So 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. Now 2 is not 3, so we want there to be an 11th card. I actually could activate this right now if I use Simultaneous Equation Cannons, and then after that activate Eldlichs. Then an Eldlich is summoned from the deck, and then when this card resolves, there's an Eldlich on the field and this card on the field at the same time. 11 minus 8 is 3, and then 3 plus 5 gets us to level 8, so we would be able to banish. Alternatively, we could wait for them to set one of their cards from grave so that we can do that. Or they could add even more cards, don't care. Okay, so at this point, it's a good spot to banish everything they have, because I don't want them to get an extra pop for free. We're going to banish 4 cards, and whatever they summon is going to get bounced to hand. Alright, couple level 4s. Goodbye. So, obviously they've still got a little bit going on. They're going to dump the furniture for another card, but we don't really care. I activate this even though they can chain, just because it's like, I have to get my monster on the field at some point, right? You can't be afraid of the cards they set. Unfortunately, they don't have a trap trick in their grave anymore, which means this rollback is kind of useless. Alright, set a Waquero. Another Equation Cannon. So they get a punishment from deck, which, yeah, sure, I guess. They can get their furniture back. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I will say the furniture version of Labrynth feels like it's a little bit better at avoiding Karma Cannon banishing everything, but also it makes Lovely way more important to their strategy. We're going to banish just like one of the furniture, whatever. They're going to pop a card. They could pop Weighbridge. So Weighbridge is another really interesting trap card. If our opponent controls 2 or more monsters than we do, in this case we have 1 and they have 3, it's I guess another math card, right? Like, number of their cards minus number of our cards equals, 2 or more. But basically, it makes it so they go from however they had before to 1 card, which is great even if they have cards that are unaffected, like by having the field spell and 5 fire monsters on the field or something. It still works. So it's a cool card, but it ends up getting overshadowed by Equation Cannons. Only send 1 card to grave. We had to do it because of the Eldlich Equation though. I was really hoping they would bounce their Chandelier to hand, because normally they never run more than 2 ladies. Then I would be able to banish both of them. Whatever. Let them attack. I want them to set cards. On the end phase, I was waiting. The reason I activate this card is not just because I need to have the math right to activate Equation Cannons again, but because I'm hoping that they'll be like, oh, I guess he's not doing anything. Now I'll summon the second lady. But he doesn't, so alright, whatever. He doesn't even wait to see if the effect is going to resolve. Like, obviously I did the math and it would. But, yeah, he's just like, no, you can't banish my entire field a second time. Oh, man, that's fun. Yeah, Simultaneous Equation Cannons is super satisfying to resolve. Okay, let's do a final duel. I make, like, a few tweaks to the budget version of the deck here and there. Once I got to Diamond 2, I do kind of bounce up and down within Diamond 2. If I had more time, which, as many of you know, I don't. I'm super busy with work and life, especially during the holidays. I'm sure I could get this really budget version to Diamond 1, but I'm showing it here at Diamond 2. I think that's good enough. Okay, Yubel. I'm like, oh, yes. A really high-level monster. I'm going to be able to Equation Cannon that super easily. Trap Trick is basically another copy of Equation Cannon, but not quite enough cards on the field. Alright, we just passed the turn. I'm still waiting to activate it. Okay, 5, 10, 11 cards. 11 minus 9 is 2. That is not between 3 and 6, okay? Okay. Obviously, we know that none of these trap cards are Labrynth cards, otherwise it would have activated. A lot of these replays are against Labrynth, I'm realizing. I guess this deck just does well against the versions of Labrynth I've been seeing. I don't know. Okay. 5, 10, 12. 12 minus 9 is 3. Okay. We might be able to hit them. What about from the extra deck? 3 plus 6 is 9. Yeah, okay. We would be able to take them down. Okay, so end phase, 5 card, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 12. Okay, 12 minus 9 is 3. Right, Simultaneous Equation Cannons. So here, if they have Karma Cannon, they could activate Karma Cannon, flip their cards face down, and in that case, Equation Cannon would not resolve. So that's kind of the main way they want to out this. Nope. Okay. Goodbye, everything. So what did they have? They had Nightmare Pain, okay, and then Floodgates. Yeah, Power 6 Stone and Summon Limit are really good. I don't have them in this version of the deck, but I guess you could use it if you don't like some of the other cards. Okay. One downside here is I don't have my Eldlich engine. I do use one of my rollbacks just because it's like, look, they have 0 cards. I'm not going to wait 4 turns to hopefully draw some of my engine just so they can, get back into it. Like, I need to kill them in the next, 2 turns. Plus, I had another Trap Trick. G to the G, thank you very much. Okay, so let's go over the deck list. No, that's our opponent's deck list. I'm sure it's very cool, but our deck. Okay, so I'm running 4 monsters with a reasoning deck, which I think maybe you could do 3 instead. I found with 3, I was sending all 3 of my Eldlichs and way too many golden land traps to grave. I feel like 4 is probably a good ratio. In my one of my other budget decks actually had 5 monsters, and that was probably too many, so 4 seems about right. I like Wannabe as a really nice budget consistency card. Now that like Pot of Prosperity has been banned, and Pot of Duality kind of interferes with some versions, even the versions that use Reasoning, that special summon. I like Wannabe as a nice consistency card. Obviously, you have our Eldlich Core, which is a couple of the big boys. 3 copies of Scarlet Sanguine as our means of summoning from the deck, and 3 copies of Waquero to non-targeting destroy a card, 2 copies of Waquero to non-targeting banish, 3 copies of Conquistador to non-targeting destroy on the field. It's a really nice little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 card trap engine that allows you to kill your opponent, and really you build the rest of your deck around just like annihilating them or floodgating them, whatever variant you want to use. In this version, I'm using a little bit more Eldlich cards just because like this is a budget deck. The only ultra rare cards are 2 of these guys, 2 copies of Rollback because it's a really fun card and you've seen there's a ton of great interactions you can have, and 1 copy of Huggin to make your runic cards act as basically back row protection for all the Harpy Feather Dusters and Lightning Storms of the world. Because it's a really budget deck, I have other Eldlich cards that I probably don't have as much. First we have White Destiny, which is just another card mostly that you would hope to send to grave with something like Reasoning, so that you can banish it to get a golden land trap online. Secondly, we have 2 copies of Cursed Eldland, just as ways to grab Eldlich to your hand. It's like a solid going second card, which, you know, we don't go second very often in the Tenpei meta, but when you do, you could add an Eldlich to hand, send a trap like Rollback or Scarlet Sanguine or something to grave, targeting an opponent's thing. Maybe you get rid of a negate so you can finally activate a Reasoning or an Evenly Matched. And then you can grab a Cursed Eldland to summon himself back as an indestructible 3500 attack monster using his own effect. So those are some additional Eldlich cards to increase our consistency now that we're doing a budget version. Another card that's nice is Foolish Burial Goods. It has great synergy because you can first send a Rollback, which immediately means you get like 1 copy of Foolish Burial Goods is 1 copy of whatever the most powerful trap in your deck you want is. You also have the Runic package, which I've talked about. These are basically ways to protect all of your cards from being destroyed. You summon out a Huggin. If other cards you control would be destroyed by like a Harpy Feather Duster or a Raigeki or whatever, she banishes herself. In that case, you have to be a little careful with your math and make sure that you aren't banishing a level 2. But I don't need to banish a level 2 fusion in order to get it to work. But otherwise, it's a nice back row. And also, the effects of destroying a special summon monster like a Baronne de Fleur, or destroying a spell or trap your opponent controls like Nightmare Pain or whatever, those come up quite a bit and can be really useful. The actual trap cards that are really important, Torrential Tribute is nice to just be able to blow out our opponent's entire field. It came out in like 2002 or whatever, and it's still one of the best trap cards out there. Dimension Barrier comes up a lot. Obviously, against Tenpei, you can call Synchro. There are a lot of decks where you can call XYZ or Ritual or Fusion, and it just sort of turns your opponent's turn off. Like, I've seen a lot of other trap decks that use Wabaku, and I feel like that's a fine card to have to just like give yourself an extra turn. But D-Barrier is better than Wabaku because it turns your opponent's turn off in a way where they just can't like summon a bunch of Omni Negates and they can't do a lot of the stuff they want to do. It's also a great going second card because even if they have like a bunch of, you know, fusion monsters or synchro monsters that have negates or whatever, you can activate it and it negates their effects on the field as well. Evenly Matched is just a solid going second card. There are enough decks that have Omni Negates where maybe it's becoming not as good. Like it's especially good in a meta where there's just no omni negates at all. But being able to send an evenly matched plus a rollback to grave with reasoning, and then just battle phase banishing their entire field face down without needing to do any math is still pretty nice. Trap Trick is probably, I mean, I want to say, obviously, Simultaneous Equation Cannon, being able to banish your opponent's entire field, is like the feature of this deck, right? Like it's the thing that goes able to finish your opponent. Trap Trick, you could argue, is a better trap than Equation Cannon because it could be Simultaneous Equation Cannon. Like you can activate Trap Trick, use Simultaneous Equation Cannon, and once you banish your entire field, your opponent's entire field, if you're doing it in a timely way, then they shouldn't have the ability to do anything after that regardless, so it doesn't matter that it's the last trap you can activate. However, if you already have Simultaneous Equation Cannon, you can use Trap Trick, go into an Eldlichs, and then you've got your engine rolling. Or, I've had duels where my opponent activates Lightning Storm or Harpy's Feather Duster. I use Trap Trick to copy Transaction Rollback, set a rollback to the field, they destroy rollback, and then during like the battle phase, I can use the rollback to banish, target Trap Trick, and then Trap Trick can set Equation Cannon from the deck and then banish their entire field. So it's like Trap Trick allows you to activate Cannon from the graveyard, essentially. It's like a way to respond to having everything blown up. In like a more optimal 40 card deck, you might only run 2, just because when you have cards that just because when you have a 40 card deck, having 3 copies of something means you're a lot more likely to have 2 or more in your opening hand. I like to run it at 3 in my 60 card deck because the math is a little different there. But here it's so good that I'm okay with drawing 2 copies of Trap Trick when I'm operating on a budget like I am. Titanicider is not a trap card you want to use Trap Trick to go into. You're always going to use Trap Trick to go into something like Equation Cannon, or sometimes a Torrential, or maybe even a D-Barrier. But Titanicider is a nice card to have a one of that occasionally gets sent to grave by Reasoning or used as fuel by Eldlich to send one of their cards to the graveyard. And then it's able to come back every turn. It's another way to play around like a Lightning Storm or something, where if you're able to delay the game for a few turns, it keeps coming back, unlike Skill Drain, which is obviously destroyed and sent to the graveyard. I think it's a cool card. Yeah. Okay. Rollback, we've talked about this a ton. It's kind of the inspiration for a lot of my Eldlich decks in the first place, is basically you can send a bunch of traps to grave, which allows you to have monsters to kill your opponent, an engine that like destroys and banishes from the destroys on the field, banishes from the graveyard, and you also get rollback, which can copy all these traps. And all these traps are also good if you have them in your hand, because you can just set them and start doing trap stuff immediately. So rollback is kind of another card that's essential to my Eldlich trap decks lately. Equation Cannon, I've talked about this extensively. Basically, just have written on this like note card over here as like a reminder. Total number of cards on the hand and field minus some opponent's monster level. Like it could be a Lady, which is a level 8. It could be a Yubel Fusion, which is a level 9, or obviously the Yubel main monsters that are a level 10, whatever. So total cards minus opponent's monster needs to equal number between 3 and 6, because we're letting in our extra deck pairs of level 3s, pairs of level 4s, pairs of level 5s, pairs of level 6s. So it has to equal one of those, and then if it does, we can send a pair of 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever the equation came out to. Then we also send a fusion monster. I've written down the second part of the equation is you need an XYZ, whichever XYZ you came to from the first part of the equation, plus some number between 1 and 7 needs to equal that opponent's monster level. You could also do this, basic algebra. You could have the XYZ minus, sorry, you can have the opponent's monster level minus the XYZ that you found equal some number between 1 and 7, which honestly might be the better way to do it now I'm thinking about it. But it's a really basic, like, not to be insulting, like 3rd grade level mathematical equation. And if you can do that, then you can banish your opponent's entire field. It's outstanding. For the levels between 1 and 7, and for the XYZs, I might as well go over the extra deck now, but yeah, banish your opponent's entire field. It replaces Elemental Burst in our deck. Outstanding. Before I get to that, why don't I just cover these? So in the Tenpei meta, being able to knock out all of our opponent's spells is amazing. There have been so many duels that I didn't end up showing where you just activate this and you kind of automatically, like, your opponent just like gives up and surrenders. It's also just good to protect the rest of your cards from Feather Dusters and Lightning Storms. So I still like to have it. Same with Skill Drain. It just like negates all of our opponent's cards. There's another great trap card. There can only be one. It is an ultra rare, so it kind of goes outside the purview of our like really budget deck. But basically we have these 3 cards plus D Barrier as our whatever stun core, I guess, if you want to call it that. So 5 cards out of 40 cards being stun is a lot, but like you saw the one deck where we banished their entire field and they literally had like anti-spell, summon limit, and power sink stone as like 3 of the 4 cards that they set. Like there is a thing of like when you have too many floodgates, you can't actually kill your opponent, and a lot of floodgates are better going first than they are going second. Like Skill Drain and D Barrier are amazing going first or second because they can negate all of your opponent's monsters. Like you do something, they use an Omni Negate, you flip one of these, and bam, your interruption goes through. Anti-Spell is great because even though it's pretty much entirely a going first card, you're going first a lot more, and you're needing to protect yourself from Feather Duster and Lightning Storm a lot more. And a lot of the better ways to protect yourself, like Lord of Heavenly Prison and Solemn Judgment, cost extra ultra rares. So for now, it's fine. Extra deck. We talked about the fact that you need fusions from 1 through 7 and XYZs paired 3, 4, 5, and 6. But which ones should you choose? So for number 2, 4, and 5, I like to have them be the runic cards. I think there's a level 3 runic that you can have as well, but it's an ultra rare, and it like doesn't do anything for us, so it's not worth spending the extra UR for the purposes of this video. But this one is really important because it's the whole reason we're running the runic cards in the first place. Protect your back row. This one, I mean, it's a cheap card, so it's fine. Special summoned, target a runic spell, a non-quick play. Yeah, you're never gonna. When it's destroyed by battle, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. So I guess that's kind of a way that you could use it. Like if your opponent's attacking you, you summon this, they have to destroy it in order to try to kill you, and then it has its graveyard effect. Yeah, I guess that could come up. It hasn't come up for me yet. And then obviously you saw me use this card as a way to try to OTK my opponent. You do have to activate the runic card in the battle phase, because it's going to skip your next battle phase. So if you activate it during your battle phase, then it'll skip the one after that, so hopefully you can try to kill your opponent before it comes up. But yeah, it's basically this guy, and this girl. And then for the other level fusions, like you could just use whatever. I used Relinquish Restrict, this guy. I have a ultra rare level 6 I have a royal rare non-ultra rare card, so I threw that in here. And then this card is actually kind of has some nostalgia for me. Like, it was in one of my first decks of Yu-Gi-Oh cards that I had. I didn't understand how fusion summoning works, so I put it in the main deck, and I would tribute summon it. So, I don't know, it just has like some nostalgia for me for like 15 plus years ago, but you can have it be whatever level 7 fusion you want. And then for the level 3s, I just have a couple of generic level 3s. It doesn't matter, you can never make them. Same with level 4s, you can never make them. Same with level 6s, you can never make them. The level 5 XYZs you actually can make by having a pair of like a Waquero and a Conquistador, or 2 Conquistadors, or 2 Waqueros, whatever. So you actually can make some level 5s. So I actually did put some work into thinking about what these would be. I used to really like Volcanosaurus as a level 5, but this card basically does the same thing but better, which is you have 2 level 5s, you detach a card material from the card, target a card your opponent controls, destroy it, and then inflict burn damage. So there could be some cases where you don't care about Equation Cannon as much. You have these cards on the field, it's like a grind game, and you just want to destroy one monster your opponent controls. Like, I could see you giving up a little bit of flexibility for Equation Cannon to XYZ summon the Raid Raptor Stranger Falcon, and in that case, you destroy whatever monster they have. And it could also be a way to end the game, which is a really important thing that I would be considering when I'm like thinking about what to put in my extra deck. So it would burn your opponent, so maybe they're really low, you activate its effect, and then you win the game. The other level 5 that I thought was interesting, it gains 1,000 attack for each material attached to it, and you could use more than just 2 level 5s. So in theory, you could have 3 or 4, probably 3 is as many as you get, Golden Land traps. You make this guy with like 2 or 3, it has 2,000 or 3,000 attack, and then it can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. So it could be a way to one turn kill your opponent, or at least to clear out a bunch of really low level monsters. And then at the end of the battle phase, you can attach a card from your graveyard to make it material, or more likely, and if you do that, then it would increase its attack by 1,000, obviously, so the next turn maybe it'd be easier for you to kill your opponent or attack over their opponent's monsters or something. Or target a card your opponent's graveyard, place it on the top of their deck, which would be an interesting way to make it like, if it's a grind game, which is the only time these cards come up, you make it so that they're not going to top deck something useful. You give them something like a Ash Blossom or whatever that's not going to affect your deck at all. Or maybe you take a card that only has effects in the graveyard out, so they can't use it in the grave. I don't know. But most of the time it's not going to come up, but those are the only extra cards that I really put thought into. I hope that you've really enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making it. There's a lot of creative things you get to do when you have the restriction of being super budget. I won't have another video until sometime after Christmas, but before New Year's. I should be at Master 1 with a very expensive Eldlich deck by then. And I'm going to look forward to showing you a bunch of duels when you get there, and also just figuring out what the optimal 60-card version of Eldlich is. Most likely a version that features Simultaneous Equation Cannons. I hope you've all had a fun time watching. See you next video. Peace.